Japanese claim to have lost 42 aircraft. That would be 8 fighters, 32 fighter bombers, and 2 torpedo bombers, mostly destroyed by the Hellcats, with the rest accounted for by anti-aircraft fire from Task Force 58.7. Meanwhile, Ozawa launched his main strike at 8:56, composed of the 1st Division's best trained pilots from their 3 fleet carriers. This was a large strike designated Raid Number 2 from the 3 fleet carriers of Carrier Division 1, with the very best trained aviators in the 1st Mobile Fleet for the time. The raid consisted of 128 aircraft. That's going to be 48 Zero fighters, 53 Judy dive bombers, and 26 Jills with torpedoes. They began launching at 8:56, but were disrupted when at 9:09, Taiho came under attack by the American submarine, the USS Albacore, which fired 6 torpedoes at the very fast-moving carrier. A last-second glitch in the boat's fire control computer made it necessary to fire 6 torpedoes by eye. One of Taiho's aircraft saw the torpedoes headed for the ship and dove into one of them in an effort to save the ship. You heard that right.
That is, it's one of the most, I don't know if awesome is really the incredible things you could say.
Awesome and horrifying. I mean, can you imagine?
Incredible, like...
Yeah. It's Captain America jumping on the grenade, you know? But in spite of that heroic move by that pilot, one of the torpedoes did hit the carrier abreast of her forward elevator, creating a hole, and she began to flood. The forward elevator raised for the launch was knocked out of alignment and would fall about several feet. Within 30 minutes, the elevator space was planked over by damage control personnel, and they began to continue their launch. But this was certainly a delay. In addition to the aircraft lost from the Taiho, 8 other aircraft developed engine troubles, and they were forced to return. Because, like we mentioned, this isn't just pilots who are inexperienced. A lot of the air crews are new, too. So there's a lot of maintenance issues going on. More trouble would soon follow. When the attacking group flew over the Vanguard force, deployed about 100 nautical miles in front of the main carrier force, it was engaged by Japanese ships. This fire was effective enough to shoot down 2 or more aircraft and damage another 8 that were forced to return. So the Japanese are firing upon themselves. Not good.
Friendly fire.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have been like what the Austrian army suffered.
Yeah. This attack, now with a friendly fire attached to it, reduced the force to about 109 aircraft for the day's largest strike, which was detected by radar, which is obvious. It's a very large formation. In a swirling action that began about 11:39 a.m., the Hellcats again tore through the Japanese formation. Pilot McCampbell claimed 3 Judys, and his wingmen claimed 2. Other Hellcats joined the battle, resulting in about 70 Japanese aircraft being shot down. Now, at this point, I just, think for this episode, I kind of wanted to, just share some images of artwork done of what this would have looked like, with the combat. So we'll just have that in the background. Just some fighters attacking each other. Other Hellcat, as I said.
Can I just say, McCampbell, who was leading one of these groups of fighters, the U.S. Navy's greatest ace, 34 kills.
Yep. The F-16 from the USS Lexington claimed 22 Japanese aircraft without a single loss, 12 for Bunker Hill for her Hellcats, but they were unable to gain a solid interception. Still, they claimed the kills. And there was also kills, from light carriers, Bataan, Monterey, Cabot. They were claiming 10, 7, and 5, respectively. VF-1 from the USS Yorktown also scored heavily. This still left a large number of Japanese aircraft headed for Task Force 58. 20 were reported in 3 groups at about 11:45. Most of these attacked the Pickett destroyers, deployed in advance of Task Force 58.7, or Lee's battleships.
It's 1/6 of the attacking force that's coming in now.
Yeah.
That's how effective. I mean, granted, the Japanese removed 1/6 themselves.
Yeah. Destroyer Stockham reported being under attack for about 20 minutes, but again, the ship suffered no real damage. At around noon, Task Force 58.7 came under attack. 2 torpedo bombers attacked South Dakota with no success, and 2 more targeted the Indiana in the center of the formation for that task group. With one crashing into the waterline of the heavily armored ship, but causing very little damage. Another Jill went after the Iowa, but again missed. Alabama was undamaged by 2 bombs aimed at her. Potentially more serious was a group of 6 Judy dive bombers that had escaped the Hellcats, and they proceeded south until running across Task Force 58.2. Of this group, 4 targeted the carrier Wasp for an attack. None scored a hit, but 1 bomb detonated overhead, raining some shrapnel that killed a man and wounded 12 crewmen. The other 2 targeted Task Force 58.2's other fleet carrier, that was the Bunker Hill, for an attack that started at 12:03. They scored 2 near misses that caused minor fires and a bit of other damage, in addition to killing 3 and wounding 73 men. That's a lot of wounded. Both carriers continued their action. 4 of the aircraft were shot down by anti-aircraft fire, with the other 2 landing on Rota and Guam. Finally, 6 B-6N bombers attacked Admiral Reeves carriers, but their attacks began a little bit after 11:57. They were quite ineffective, failing to hit any targets. 1 missed the USS Enterprise, and another 3 attacked the light carrier Princeton. All 3 were destroyed by anti-aircraft fire. Thus, Ozawa's second strike resulted in significant losses for the Japanese, with 97 of the 128 aircraft not returning to carriers. That's 32 fighters, 42 dive bombers, and 23 JILs lost. Whoa. At 5:30, the third group of Japanese scout aircraft took off. This comprised 11 Judys from the Shokaku and 2 Jakes from the heavy cruiser Mogami. The aircraft flew 560 nautical miles to the east. The 2 contacts were radioed back to Ozawa. The first at 9:45 was reported well south of Task Force 58's actual position. And at this point, so I'm just going to bring back my map. Actual position caused by uncorrected compasses that were deviating. The contact was designated 15 Rai by the Japanese. The second contact, designated 3 Rai, was reported at 10 o'clock, and this was a task force of 3 carriers and escorts to the north of 58's actual position. This was actually possibly Task Force 58.4. The third Japanese strike, designated Raid Number 3 by the Americans, was mounted by Carrier Division 2. It consisted of 47 aircraft, including 15 fighters, 25 Zeros with bombs, and 7 JILs with torpedoes. The remaining 20 aircraft searched for what they believed to be 2 battleships, but ultimately they were attacking. Ultimately at 12:55, they were intercepted by Hellcats, and they would lose 7 aircraft in the process. The group pressed on. They attacked Rear Admiral William Harrell's carriers at 1:20. The attempt was ineffective, with 1 aircraft dropping a bomb about 600 yards close from the Essex. Ozawa's third strike accomplished very little, but at least 40 of its 47 aircraft did survive and return to their carriers. Now, at 11 o'clock, Ozawa launched his final attack of the day, consisting of 82 aircraft from carriers Junyo, Hyo, Ryo, Zokaku, all of Carrier Division 1. This comprised 30 Zero fighters, 10 Zeros with bombs, 27 Vals, 9 Judys, and 6 JILs. The planes set off for a new incorrect southern target, and they would find nothing, causing them to divide into 3 groups. The largest group, of about 49 aircraft, headed towards Guam, where the Americans had been periodically discarding ordnance to neutralize Kokata's airfields. As Ozawa sent his strike against Task Force 58, Spruance directed Mitscher to keep a number of Hellcats active over Guam to disrupt any attempt to mount attacks from there. This actually reflected Spruance's fear that the Japanese would use Guam as a base for shuttle bombing using aircraft from the First Mobile Fleet. Before the first Japanese carrier raid, Hellcats encountered airborne Japanese aircraft all over Guam.